guys? Welcome back to another episode. Take this as a sign that it's time to declutter. I am going to spend the next 10 to 15 minutes just trying to clear out my office. So, I have a few minutes before I have my next appointment, and I am trying to just give myself a little bit of opportunity to focus on what I can focus on. And I want to invite you to take a few moments to join in with me and just do what you can do. So, set a timer for 15 minutes and let's do this together. Alexa, set a timer for 15 minutes.
Good afternoon, Eddie. 15 minutes, starting now.
So, I am doing a voiceover while I am sharing this video because I wanted to just try to have a pep talk with you guys as you're hopefully joining along with me in this cleaning or decluttering video. So, part of why I finally decided to just take a few minutes to declutter is because I've been saying to myself, when I have a free day or a client day or a couple of hours to just sit in my office or just sit, in the house and work on some stuff, like do my vision board and just go through the bills and all of these things. I just never got here. I didn't have a couple of hours, right? And so things just kept piling up and kept piling up and kept piling up. And I shared a few days ago that I had just had a really rough day, and it was like one of those things where it was like the straw that broke the camel's back. And I just felt like I needed to just stop doing. I needed to just stop being so overly focused on like what is the one thing I'm going to accomplish today to move the needle. And I was like leaning into, I think, just like more masculine energy. And I think I just had this realization that I needed to stop. I needed to just focus on things that may not necessarily move the needle, but that help me maybe reset, help me reflect, help me just kind of be and just kind of sit with my feelings and my emotions and then also just tackle the clutter, right? I think yet there is this in the back of my head, this awareness that I am not in a position to receive more abundance if my current environment is not cleared out, if that makes sense, right? I'm not in a position to really navigate the things that I want to accomplish because I am constantly go, 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 or I'm putting out fires, or it's always like, it's like the crisis of the week, or I'm just like always going. And so I am not in a position to really receive because my energy is being, pulled in a million different directions, right? In part, I have open loops. If you've ever heard like open loops versus closed loops, there's this idea that when something is not finished, it just is like running in the back of your mind. It's like a system, right? Like it's like an app or it's like a tab that's open on your computer because you haven't like yet addressed the task or completed it and moved it out of the way, closed it up, and then just kind of put it on the shelf or put it away. And so I think that there was this full recognition that I have a lot of open loops, right? And I think that it's been okay to say to myself, when I sit down, I'm going to be able to sit down on Monday or sit down on Friday and get these things done. Well, like, guess what? Like there has never been a time in the past month and a half, 6 weeks, we are like into February, I've not been able to sit down. I said to myself when we were gonna have Christmas break, I was like, I'm gonna have all Christmas break to do it. And then kids got sick and we were traveling and we were doing all this stuff with family. And then I was too tired to really sit with my office. And then January came and kids got sick, and and then recently, we started February and my car didn't start. And, I just found out that the father of one of my best friends passed away. So I'm going to be going to a funeral. And so that's where, my days are being pulled. And then we had snow days. And so the kids were home for a couple of hours, and the hours that I would be spending, decluttering got taken up by by a delayed opening, right? So, I say all this to say that, we want to wait for the right time. We want to wait for the perfect time to just sit with a cup of coffee and go through our magazines and do our vision board, or file mail away, or sit and do our taxes, or, and then you just never get to it, right? You just never get to it. And so I just was like, you know what? I have 15 minutes. I can do something in 15 minutes. It's not going to be everything, but it will be something. And you guys, as I was decluttering, or as I was going through the mail, you know what I realized? My car registration had expired. What? My car registration had expired. And it expired in November. And I think in my head, I had said, oh, well, I'm going to be off for a couple of days for Thanksgiving and Christmas, so I'll get to it then. And it's now February. And I didn't do it, and my registration had expired. I had to do my donation for the year. Didn't do that. So not that I do it for write-offs, but I do my donations in December, and that's a tax deduction. Didn't do that. So, I'm sitting, I'm just saying to myself, you know what, I'm going to sit right now and I'm going to do my registration. I'm going to make my donation for the year. And even though it's February and I tend to do end of year donations, I'm going to do it right now in February. And so that's what I did. I found a check that, a reimbursement check that I hadn't, that I hadn't deposited, right? And it's just this element of when you sit and you just tackle the paperwork, right? Just tackle the little bit that you can, you start to just close those loops, right? You just start to allow yourself to say, okay, I don't have this great amount of time, but what can I get done in 15 minutes? And I don't tend to be like that. I tend to try to focus in compartments. I try to say oh, I'm going to sit and do my vision board, or I'm going to work in one zone, one room at a time, or I'm going to spend 1 hour or a half an hour filing paperwork. This time I was scorched earth. I'm oh, I have a donation. I'm going to do that right now. I have paperwork that I need to file. I'm going to do that right now. I have things that need to get shredded. I'm going to do that right now. Now, the challenging thing that happens with decluttering is that some of it is emotional, right? I have Post-it notes and little scraps of piece of paper that I just wrote down a blog post idea or a YouTube video idea, and I just would put it on these Post-it notes. I just would put it on pieces of paper, scraps pieces of paper, and now I can't sit and pull aside 15 minutes to record a YouTube video or to do a blog post. So that I had to figure out what to do with, or it was a blog post idea that I thought was great at the time, and now it's not resonating with me. But I'm clinging to it because I'm I think it could be a really good blog post. I think it could be a really great resource that I'm trying to create for clients. Do I really want to throw this out? And that gets emotional, right? Because now you're revisiting, ideas from the past. You're revisiting memories from the past. You're sort of saying to yourself, oh man, I remember where I was in my life, when I wrote these on these little scraps of piece of paper, and man, that was such a great time. And you can get caught in the rabbit hole because you're going down memory lane, right? Just by looking at scrap pieces of paper. But what I did was, is that there I was, like, finding the check that the dividend check, the reimbursement check that I was supposed to have deposited, but like, okay, great, that had expired, so it was no longer good. But going back to the idea of, how do you deal with emotional clutter, right? It elicits an emotional response. And for me, it was blog posts. And that was one of the things that I just said, you know what, I'm going to just collect all these scrap pieces of paper, and I'm going to put them in a notebook, right? I'm just going to, because now is not the time. This is not the time for me to just stop what I'm doing to record a YouTube video or to do a blog post, because that literally takes, about an hour or half an hour. And we're not trying to do that right now. We're staying really focused on decluttering and putting things away and dealing with things as best as possible in the short amount of time. So it was some of the pieces of scrap paper that I wrote ideas on. I was like, I have no interest in even entertaining. I don't know what I was thinking when I was writing that. I don't know, right? And I just didn't even think twice about it. And then there were some things that I was like, no, there's still something here. So if you're struggling with what to do as it relates to emotional clutter, I would say to you that, if it's eliciting some memories, put it to the side and, like, don't make a decision about that stuff just yet, right? Like, and I'm saying this because, again, now I'm saying I'm pushing, work, I'm keeping an open loop, but there are some things that you just can't tackle in this moment, right? And especially if you have a limited amount of time and you have a pile of stuff just waiting for you, put the emotional stuff to the side where you will maybe be in a better headspace or in a better heart space to just, like, navigate the emotional grenade of this thing. The other thing that I did in real time was, I had clipped some pictures, some, things that I had clipped that I was going to put on my vision board or that I was going to put in my notebook. And I was just like, I'm just going to open up any random page of my like vision board book, and I'm going to put it in, because in my head I was like, oh, well, I'm going to want it to be, travel's going to be on the first half, and then, professional goals, in the latter half. Oh, and then I want, really positive things, like in the front. And in this case, it was like this notion of trying to be a perfectionist with zones and tabs and all that stuff was keeping me from doing the thing. So I said, you know what? I'm going to do this in real time. I put it in the notebook, and there's nothing that is going to stop me from just flipping through this sketchbook, this vision board book, and just seeing it. And I don't want to say it doesn't have to make sense, right? But, like, it doesn't have to make sense. And if you're really worried about it and you want to go back to it later, either you stick it in your vision board book, or you put a piece of tape over it. I took a glue stick and I just stuck it on there. But if you want to put a piece of tape on there where you can move it around, or maybe you have like putty or something that's movable, like, if you do want to go back and clean it up or structure it or organize it in a better way, okay, but do something with it now. Put it away now, because you're going to keep saying to yourself, I'm going to wait for the quote unquote perfect time. And I'm telling you, the perfect time is not here. It's not coming. It's just, it is what it is. And again, for me, based on the week that I had just had, I was like, I need a reset, right? I need to just reset. I need to be in a place of closing up some of these loops, because this is starting to give me a headache. I'm starting to be fatigued. It's not even like overwhelmed per se. It was just fatigued, right? I think the clutter was just making me tired. Now, the other thing that I realized, and this, I hope this is helpful for you to gain some perspective of, as I was decluttering, what I saw was, an aspect of like shiny new object syndrome, right? I think what I saw was all of these great ideas. I don't even want to say that I paid for them, but it was like these freebies that I got that was like, oh, you should get into network marketing, or you should get into, selling herbs, and you should grow a garden course, and here's a blogging tutorial. Here's how to make PDFs of stuff. Like, I just had all these crazy ideas of how I was going to create branches of my therapy practice tree, that I had paperwork, that I had like just PDFs of things from this and I had multiple ways to make money, right? It was just like, try this, try that. And so I was like, you know what? I made a decision, and I'm still working through this decision, and this is hard, is to just focus on one or two things, right? That was also very hard to deal with, because you're looking at, do I want to blog this year? I'm recording these YouTube videos for the sake of recording YouTube videos. I wanted to be a content creator 2 years ago. I'm not saying I'm not going to be, but like, I took a course and I started doing the modules, and now that's not sustainable, right? Like, it's just because I have too many quote unquote projects going on. And so I have just said to myself, you know what? I am going to file this, and just, it's going to go on the back burner for now, and I'm just going to keep my focus on one thing. And here I am, just showing you, like, what I got done. And it's not everything, but it's something, and I feel much better about it. So I hope that you feel a little bit better in tackling, some decluttering. And I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next one. That's paperwork. See ya. Bye.